Now, I'm going to ask you a question, but I need you to be intentionally honest with yourself. Do you seek approval from others instead of trusting in God? Do you seek validation from other people, whether it's family, whether it's your friends, whether it's even your neighbors, whether it's your children? Do you seek validation from your spouse before you even carry forth the plans and purpose that God has prepared for you? Instead of trusting in Him, placing your hope in Him, and seeking Him and Him first, you have to remind yourself that the world will always remind you of who you are not rather than who you are. God reminds us of who we are. He tells us we are the head and not the tail. We are above and not below. We are to be the lenders and not the borrowers. We are blessed going in and we are blessed coming out. He will place your enemies as your footstools. He will have your enemies going in one direction but fleeing in seven. Yet we still question our self-worth through validation from other people. So during the making of success, it doesn't look picture perfect. In fact, quite often it looks like a mess. It looks like, why am I up at 4 o'clock in the morning? Lord, you really want to sit down and have a conversation with me? Lord, I haven't slept over the past 2 days. Did I even shower today? Matter of fact, what's today? Is today Tuesday? That's what the making of success typically looks like. Because something is cooking up. Something is unfolding. Something is happening behind the scenes that no one is aware of but God. So to them, you look a hot mess. To them, you look broke, busted, and disgusted. To them, you look ashy. Your knees look dry. To them, your kids are jacked up. You got laundry piled up. Haven't did your laundry. You got dishes piled up in the sink. And they think, oh my God, I need to help her. She thinks she's going to be something. Oh Lord, she look like a hot mess. Oh, she is. This is the cooking process. You know, when you're cooking for Thanksgiving dinner and the kitchen looks crazy, but at the end, a feast is prepared. And it tastes amazing, doesn't it? Even though your guests arrive, when the spread is laid out, when the candles are lit and all they smell is that fresh apple pie, but they weren't there when the apple pie spilled on the floor, when the sugar spilled, when the kitchen looked like who, what, when, and where, and why. They weren't there for that. They saw the outcome. So when people are witnessing the process of the creating of success, when God is operating within you, they will misjudge you. They will criticize you. They will say you're crazy. They'll talk about you behind your back, and sometimes they have the boldness to do it in front of you. But it's not your job to care. It is your job to trust the process as God is doing the work within you. So don't be alarmed when people are confused when they see the making of success, because to be quite honest, they've never seen it before. Because if they did, they wouldn't misjudge you the way that they do. They wouldn't undermine you either. They wouldn't discredit who God called you to be based on what it looks like today. And it is not your job to convince them otherwise. It is your job to focus on the mission that was given to you. And don't be shocked when they start imposing their own limitations, their own limiting beliefs onto you. When they say things like, oh, girl, I know a lot of people that try to, publish their own book, and girl, they ain't sell much of anything. Girl, I know a lot of people that try to, they call themselves YouTubers and they try to start a YouTube channel, and you see where that goes. Silence the noise. Move in silence because you ain't got time for it. Don't forget that Oprah was told she did not have the face for TV. Yet you see her on TV almost every day. That's if you have the own channel, of course. And you see she shined and thrived on television in the very place that they said she would fail, that she wouldn't succeed. But God knew otherwise. So here's something I want you to always remember. God will always select the least likeliest candidate to carry forth his mission. The one who was overlooked, the one who was undermined, the one who was criticized and judged and told, she ain't gonna do nothing. That is the one God typically uses to fulfill his purpose because they won't glorify themselves. They won't exalt themselves. They'll exalt God, and God will be exalted through them. So it's not supposed to look picture perfect yet. When you walk into the dark spaces, it looks crazy at times. It looks messy. It gets dirty. I remember the story when Jesus shared about the farmers who sowed seeds, and some of the seeds stayed on the surface and some were buried deep in the soil. And that predicted the outcome of the harvest and what they reaped. So understand, the dirtier, the messier, the deeper, the darker, the better, the brighter that God can shine through you. When you go through the trials, the tribulations, the test after test after test, and you fail and you fail and you fail until you succeed, understand that God is building you up. He wants you to have so much conviction within your soul that no matter what comes against you, you know who you are in him. So have trust in God, because let me tell you one thing. Do you think that God made an investment in you for nothing? You think he's a God that wastes time? Don't insult him like that. He gave you those gifts. That's an investment. Pretend this is a business. Pretend I see an idea. I have a vision. So I'm going to invest in this business because I know that this business is going to produce a return of interest. So I'm investing and I'm pouring things into this business. That is how God is with us. He pours into us gifts, talents, resources, abilities that is so out of this world where people go, hey, how did you learn this? And you're like, I don't know. I always knew I could do this. So don't insult God by believing he made an investment in you for nothing. It was on purpose. And he's waiting for his return. So you have to go through some training to mold you, to sharpen your gifts, so you can be all that God has called you to be. So he can increase your faith. So he can increase your discernment. So he can increase your perseverance. And all the things that's meant to sustain you when you reach that level that he has set for you to go. And some of these tests are meant to purify you, to release you from generational bondage and chains, to help you to unlearn the things that your daddy taught you, your mama taught you, your sister, and your past traumas that don't belong, that no longer serve you. God is an intentional God. When the world, your friends, your family, your loved ones, the people you expect to know who you are and to believe in you, when they don't, understand this. They don't understand the essence of who you are, the magnificence of what you carry. Let them be confused. It's not your job to convince them. You're wasting time doing that. It is your time to believe and trust what God said about you first. So when things get hard, instead of complaining and questioning, it's okay to cry. It's okay to have moments of anxiety. It's okay to feel fear. It's okay to feel tired and weary. But instead, position yourself to ask this question. Lord, what am I training for now? What part of this training am I entering? Just recently, all my kids were sick, all of them. And I have 5. My husband's deployed, and everything just felt like it was falling apart. And I had moments when I said, okay, I feel like I'm losing my mind. What's happening? Lord, what you doing here? Okay, how much more strength do I need to get from this? And then I heard God say, I'm not building your strength, I'm building your patience. So then I position myself to question and ask, not in ways of, Lord, why, but ways like, how is this going to serve me for my future, for my purpose? What part of the training am I reaching here? What do you have for me to learn? That is how you should view the hard times, the challenges that you face. As part of your training, you're leveling up, sis. And it's okay. It's part of the process. So God is equipping you. He's giving you tools in your toolbox. Everything you went through is on purpose. Everything you're developing, your faith is building up, your perseverance, your character, your strength, and your patience is building because God sees where you're going. He's like, she don't need this. So you might look like you served 4 years in the White House after it's all said and done. But it's okay. It's temporary, okay? You're going to clean up nice. God's going to help you clean up, okay? But it's all the wisdom that you're gathering. So that when you start that YouTube channel, when you start that business, when you launch that book release, right? When you start that clothing line, when you start whatever it is, you won't be affected by the opinions anymore. Because the lessons and the tools you've gained from everything you overcame has equipped you. You won't freak out when you don't get the clients you wanted to get, when you don't get the sales you wanted to get right away. You won't freak out and panic because you were equipped with patience. You were equipped with perseverance, and that's why you won't give up so easy. Because what you went through 4 weeks ago has prepared you for this moment. And not only that, you yourself will change. The shows you used to watch, you will no longer care to watch anymore. The conversations you used to entertain won't even trigger you or phase you anymore. You won't have any interest. The friends you used to hang out with, the fake friends, the friends that you wanted around you just because you were fearful of being alone, well, you are no longer, you're like, I can ignore that phone call. I can decline that invitation. The family members that affected you and they knew what words to say to trigger something in you won't even affect you no more. You'll be like, okay. Next, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you move, the way you dress, everything will change. And that's because you were being equipped. I remember when I was selected to interview the Chief Human Resource Officer of the largest HR organization in the entire world. And I remember feeling so nervous, especially because everyone else around me was nervous. They were like, oh my God, Kimberly, this is the man. Okay. You can't mess this up. This is a man who has over 315,000 members in his organization worldwide. Okay. So I'm sure he landed in his private jet to be interviewed by me. And I'm like, little old me. Okay. What? I don't even have $500,000 in my bank. So I remember when he walked in the room and it was like, oh, this big light just shined on him and he looked like a bag of money. Okay. A bag of money. He smelled like a bag of money. And I said, oh my God, Lord Jesus, I'm really going to do this. And everybody backed away like, they all nervous. Hi. And they're looking at me like, Kimberly, you better know this girl. And then something happened. It was like I went down memory lane and I know this was God. And I remembered as if it was yesterday. All of a sudden, I was a 12-year-old little girl sitting in my house with my dad. And my dad was very hot and cold. You didn't know how he was going to be that day. He was very stoic sometimes, very emotionless. And navigating around that as a child was very intimidating and very scary. But I had a way, which is why people said, oh, girl, your daddy's favorite child. But it wasn't that. I had a way of communicating with him. It was like a skill that I developed that allowed me to navigate the waves when my dad was hot and cold, hot and cold. And it was a very intense situation at times. Can you imagine being a small child and you don't know how to speak to your own father because you don't know how he's going to come at you, if you're going to be insulted or if you're going to be praised, if you're going to be loved, embraced, and hugged, or if you're going to be kicked out. We didn't know how to approach him, but I learned. And I remember thinking and asking God, why did I have to grow up this way? Why did I have to face those challenges? Why couldn't I have grown up in a loving home where it wasn't so critical, where it wasn't so, chaotic at times? And at that moment, I realized what God was preparing me for. He was blessing me with communication skills to be able to navigate the waves and to be able to speak to anyone, including the most difficult people. So as he walked in the room, and once he sat down in front of me, I no longer saw the head of the largest HR organization in the world. I saw my dad. And I was no longer the interviewer. I was now that same 12-year-old little girl who loved her dad so much, to the point where she studied him long enough to learn how to navigate his emotions. So as the interview began, people were shocked. I mean, jaws were on the floor. They were like, what? Huh? The man's laughing. He was so comfortable that he even changed his posture. He was leaned over to the side, like, talking to me, doing this, making jokes. He even told me the little funny nicknames that his kids call him. He was no longer the head anymore. He also became dad because I brought that side out of him. And he said, this was one of my best interviews that I've ever had. And let me tell you this, no one believed in me more than my parents, more than my husband. My dad used to tell me, one day you're going to be the next Oprah. My mom used to tell me the same thing. And even though they weren't the perfect parents, it was by design that I went through the things that I went through and overcame the things I overcame because they too were part of the plan. God has a plan for every season of your life, from the good, the great, to the darkest times, the ugliest moments. I had moments when I would just bury my face in my pillow and scream and cry and just beg God to release this burden, this pain. And let me tell you, God has blessed me through my pain. And He's going to do the same for you. Just trust in Him. You have already been validated. Leave a comment and let me know a time when you were like, God, really? Am I being punished? Am I being pranked? What's going on here? And name a time when you had that aha moment and you said, wait, now I know why I went through that. Or maybe while watching this video, it hit you. Maybe you're thinking of a time when you had a bad breakup, or when you were rejected, or when you were pushed down and criticized. And now you're realizing, now I see why I went through that. So I wouldn't give up when the doors closed in my face. So I wouldn't give up when I'm tired. Now I know why I overcame that. Lord, thank you. Leave that in the comment section so not only others can read it, so I can read it too. We are all benefiting from each other's testimonies like you have no idea. We need each other. We are building community right here. And I am so thankful to have a channel like this, a channel that attracts people that are just so powerful, so amazing, so incredible. Like, do you know who you are? You better recognize. Don't forget to like, leave a comment, share this message. If you can't afford a Christmas gift this year, this could be their gift. And don't forget to subscribe. Please subscribe. If you don't subscribe to the channel, you ain't gonna see what's next, okay? I want us to stay connected. And guess what? I have been cooking up something new. I am working on creating that accountability group. And we're gonna do it right here on YouTube. And I'm thinking about using Patreon. I'm not sure. I'll figure it out. But God is moving. He's speaking to me. He's cooking up something. But it's going to be launched soon. Take care and God bless.